What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Kofi Kingston, a.k.a. 1/3 of the New Day. You're not going to say it with me, sir? Yeah, come on, you better participate. Let's try it again. 1/3 of the New Day, and you are watching The Young and the Wrestlers. Ha 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 ha.
Welcome to The Young and the Wrestlers, the pop culture's WWE podcast, the show where we dive into the soap opera nature of the WWE. That's stories, that's characters, that's motivations. It's all fun, just marking out. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Betson, alongside
Power Slam, more like SummerSlam. I'm Jem.
This is our SummerSlam in review. It's a special episode, and it's coming to you on a Wednesday morning. It's 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. For our regular weekly show, that's Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you want to join our wrestling conversation, head over to our social medias, Facebook, Discord, Instagram, all those links, Twitter, all the description and thing below, down there. All the things are. If you want to join the conversation as it happens, twitch.tv/the pop cultures, where you can watch us record this show live. If you want to support this show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this little wrestling podcast. If you're listening on podcast, have a choice, but give us a 5-star rating, a written review, or if you're on YouTube, give us a thumb up, comment below, subscribe, all those nice things. And of course, you can always support us financially at patreon.com/thepopculturist, or you can buy stuff from our merchandise store at popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy assorted shit with our logos on it. Now, Jem, before we jump into the show this week, apparently there's another way that you can get a hold of us, and it is by the contact form that we have on our website, which I forgot that we established. Like, I forgot that we put a contact form on the website. So, shout out to Joel for putting a contact form in there, because we received a lovely little message from a woman named Gabby. We won't be talking about, we love the idea. Won't be talking about it this week. We'll probably talk about it in the upcoming episode, if not the one after, because we did a little bit of research on this one. Just a little teaser there for everyone playing at home. But, this is our, as we said, this is our SummerSlam pay-per-view special review thingy. I'm excited to talk SummerSlam. Jem, are you excited to talk SummerSlam thingies?
I'm excited to talk SummerSlam, even though it's winter for us.
It is. It's cold as shit, and it's like the best party of the summer. I'm like, I am so cold right now. This is insane.
The American summer.
God damn that American summer. Hey, all right, let's just jump straight into this, bitch. It started off. That's I called the pay-per-view a bitch, not you. Just to clarify. Kick things off, SmackDown Women's Championship, one of two matches for Asuka. This time it was up against Bayley. Of course, she had Sasha Banks with her. They sprinkled a little bit of storytelling in the back there with Bayley being champion for upwards of 317 days thus far. Asuka
apparently she had it shaved into the back of her head 317.
Yep. Yeah, and to talk about how Asuka was undefeated at NXT. She, in fact, even took the championship from Bayley, what we got from the notes here. In short, Sasha Banks causes Asuka to attack her, causing a ton of interference, which, of course, helps Bayley get the most devastating move in sports entertainment, a sneaky roll-up, which then 1, 2, 3, Bayley retains. Jem, how are you with the idea of Bayley retaining?
I was expecting it, especially with how, Bayley's at SummerSlam 317 days as champion. I have a feeling she's going to make it a year minimum before she loses that title. Look, it was a good match. Like, you could tell Asuka was in it, and she was in it to win it, and she was fighting her hardest, but Sasha Banks did obviously sacrifice herself to ensure Bayley got that victory. So yeah, I was surprised that Sasha didn't interject herself more than she did. But I was glad that she didn't, because too much, I never deal well with that. disappointing for Asuka for sure, especially because she did get attacked straight afterwards. Sasha Banks just on the attacker, and Bayley just did this big old like power slammy thing, and just take her out. But thankfully, Asuka did have time between matches to recover. If she had gone straight into it, who knows? But yeah, I kind of assumed it'd go this way. As much as I wanted Asuka to come out with both belts, I kind of knew going into it that Bayley would retain.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar space to you, Jem. I say that because my stance here is I think Bayley's become the stronger of the two, and I think that's reflected obviously by her long run. Pardon me, that she's been having currently, and then additionally that also includes her just retaining here, like with that distraction. Like Asuka she's unrivaled in some ways, and I was expecting like, nah, she's probably gonna take the L from Bayley. You know that it's there'd be some interference there, and you know tactically Sasha made the right call. The second that match was over, she was in, causing a little bit more damage, sort of make that a little bit easier for her later in the night. Yeah, it's kind of where I saw it going. I'm not too mad. I'm not too sad about it. But I think I'll add some more details come a little bit later when we get into the Sasha match. We should also mention that during the kickoff, we did have Apollo Crews versus MVP for the United States Championship, where Apollo Crews retained. That's how little everyone cares.
One thing I do want to say is, like, the Bayley versus Asuka match, Bayley and Asuka are both super hard hitters. So it was a very sort of, like, hard-hitting match. Whereas, like, it was the complete opposite for Asuka versus Sasha, which we'll obviously talk about later. But I loved seeing the diversity of Asuka throughout this. You know, going from one match where she's, like, beating the absolute piss out of Bayley to what she does later. It was really cool to see that diversity from her. You know, especially coming up like first shoulder match is always the card is always the trickiest one. Yeah. So to come out so strong, literally and figuratively, it was awesome.
But it also makes sense knowing that you have another match later in the night, and at least allow some downtime. It was probably a good call. Next up was the Raw Tag Team Championships. This was Angel Garza and Andrade with Zelina Vega. So Zelina and her boys with the Street Profits. And Kevin Owens on commentary for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason. I did love the little KO coming out in the Street Profits shirt with his little red tie on as well. That was a little bit cute. But yeah, so KO was there for some reason. It's the second pay-per-view in a row that KO has been on commentary. I think because he has had his little grats with Andrade and Garza and that little crew. But yeah, like the first thing I could say about this match was like, who needs pyro when you got red solo cups?
Yeah,
like,
so we kind of had an idea of
so
which way it was going to go when it began to shower red solo cups. So on the stage, throughout the Thunderdome.
Some smoke, yeah. Just red solo cups instead of pyro and fireworks.
Well, actually, because we haven't been able to talk about SmackDown yet, and we probably won't until tomorrow, or even tomorrow is just Raw. So, what do you think of the Thunderdome?
I am liking it more and more. Initially, I was like, "Oh, what a dumb concept," but I don't know. It definitely brings something. There's not just that empty, like, even though they had like the people behind the screens, like you really couldn't see them, and it was just, I don't know, it just felt real empty and real cold. And now that they've got all the lights and the pyro, it brings back the excitement of what wrestling is, which is the pyro and the extravagancies. And you know, even though like they're putting in simulated sounds, it's still like, it's giving me that atmosphere that I want. It's giving me that atmosphere that I've been craving for so long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm actually all about it.
I would agree with you there. So the thing that I noticed straight away that made me kind of like excited was when we were watching SmackDown, and then I forget who came in, and they did that shot, you know, like sort of lower shot up where you see the big grand Titantron. I'm like, oh man, I totally forgot how awesome a massive Titantron is. And like, that was the thing for me. It was like the big screen and like just seeing that grandiose front end was kind of what got me across the line. Now, granted, seeing all the faces, I'm like, it seems like a lot. But then again, we're so used to not seeing people, like, because it's been like 6 months. So I'm like, that seems like that's a lot of busyness having that many people in the background. I'm like, wait, arenas have way more people. Here I am just getting lost in what we were doing.
Exactly. It's just bigger.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, but the screens are actually staggered.
Mm-hmm. And they've got like pyro and like shit behind them as well.
Yeah, so like there's pyro coming out from the back of them. It was really freaking awesome. Obviously, like you'll see posted online like little spoilers of people doing sneaky shit, which is a bit of fun as well. Like I like that. It's kind of like, having your signs in the arena. Like it's a bit of fun. Like when we did the 2K20 predictions, So 2K20 predicted that Apollo Crews would lose, and I couldn't help but laugh because in the background there was a sign that says "Crews can't lose." Oh yeah,
we should add to that. Yeah, so for those that don't know, we're on Twitch. The Saturday or the Sunday before a pay-per-view, I like to boot up WWE 2K20, and I use it to predict the outcomes of the show. The pay-per-view predicted that MVP will win. It predicted that Bailey will retain, so it's 1 for 2 right now. That's not bad. And the Mad Dog is here. He can't hear me. Oh, it's because I'm muted. I've been muted this whole damn time.
Oh, no!
That's all right. That makes total sense. Well, thank you for coming through, Mad Dog, and hooking us up with the information. We've been muted this whole time.
Have we?
We've been recording this whole time, but we've been muted this whole time. So... technical hiccups. When Mad Dog's here. Mad Dog saves it. Mad Dog saves the day. But yeah. So it was interesting. Interesting thing with these screens, right? With all the sneaky stuff. Like I saw some complaints on Twitter, like, oh, my feed got pulled because I was eating on camera. I'm like, yeah, don't do that.
Don't eat on camera. You don't sit there and eat in the arena.
Oh, I got pulled because I wore an AEW shirt. Yeah, it makes sense.
You wouldn't be allowed to wear it in the arena.
People are fucking dumb. Like you can see the complaints trying to make some controversy. It's like no. And the only other problem that I have with the Thunderdome in terms of the people is that because they're all in the comfort of their own home, they're all. Sorry, for those on the audio, like they sit still, they don't do a whole lot. Occasionally they'll do a hand. Like, I guess that's the difference is like in the arena, you go and you're getting all excited, you get all pumped. Even you, Craig and I, we have a viewing party, and we're all getting up and involved, and it's just us at home.
Yeah. Well, that's something I was going to point out as well. Is like we were talking about that when we were watching SmackDown together, you, Craig, and I. But I did notice there was a bit more interactivity this time. There was, like, as people were doing their entrances, I saw people moving around on the screens more. So that's one thing I did notice is they actually were getting a bit into it a bit more. But obviously it's hard when you're like us, like this close on a screen. It's hard to be able to exaggerate things. And
Jeff Hardy hands. I can, what else can I do? I can do all the things. I can randomly just put DDP in there. There are other things I can do. There's a lot you can do in just a seat.
AJ Styles.
Yeah, get some AJ Styles going on. We can too sweet the screen.
Yeah.
People can do some stuff. But
there was a bit more movement this time.
Yeah, so it's compared to SmackDown, there was a bit more, so that's not so bad. And of course, as Mad Dog mentions in the chat, there was a gentleman with a fire Velveteen Dream sign on the back of his series of accusations that he had, and we have to say accusations because that's where they're at. Nothing has been.
Somebody had Chris Benoit.
Yes, someone made the picture. Yeah, just a still of Chris Benoit, which was a bit insensitive. So
one thing that I wasn't sure about that actually was happening is the screens actually do cycle the whole ring.
Yes.
I thought they were only on the one side, but they cycle the whole thing because we see Bailey at the end of her match. She's like, pretending to kick at people like she would if they were in the crowd, which
Yeah.
I thought was great. And one thing I need to mention this because I love it. Baby's really tapping into the Y2J heel.
I've mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, and like I'm glad it's been noticed.
Yeah, it really is. She's tapping into that Y2J heel, calling people stupid idiots and that sort of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I can.
Hey, big idiot! Love it.
Bailey 2J.
Hell yeah, man. B2J. Nope, that sounds inappropriate.
Back to the tag team on hand.
Oh yeah, Raw tag team.
So KO's obviously ringside for some reason. I don't know. He's great on commentary. He accidentally said the word retribution. Everybody was like, and he's like, oh, sorry, it slipped. I didn't mean it. But thankfully there was no showings of retribution.
That was good. Much appreciated.
Yeah. But obviously, like throughout the match, obviously KO is speaking. At one point, Zelina Vega like screams at him to shut up, but he's like, "No, I will not shut up." And like, I think it was somebody was next to him. Who was it?
That would have been Todd Phillips.
I think
Byron Saxton.
No,
Byron Saxton. Todd Phillips, and then Joe.
Yeah, I think either Byron or Todd was like, "Can you not, Kevin? Like, don't provoke." So I was like, "No, I will not shut up." But like again. Something I found interesting is like 2K20 predicted that Montez Ford would take the most of the match. And he did.
He did.
So he started the match, he got his ass handed to him, he eventually got a tag out and then very quickly tagged back in.
Yes, I see this as him going, he's proven a point here. He's like, I got poisoned, I was down and out, but I can still go. That's how I see it. Like, no matter what you could have done, I'm still going to come in and I'm still going to get the win, which they did.
Exactly. Which they did. So, obviously, as Zelina Vega does, she was distracting the referee on the apron while Angel Garza and Montez Ford were fighting. Montez staggered and knocked Zelina off, which caused Andrade to go check on her. And then Angel Garza tried to get the attack, but he got overpowered. The Street Profits ended up retaining with Montez getting the pin on Angel Garza while Angelo Dawkins held Andrade out of the ring.
I did like that little touch, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. So they did retain, which was awesome. Man, Montez Ford can fly.
He's awesome.
So
like that, yeah. So he essentially got himself a bit of a frog splash with like a 180 frog splash. Jumped, sort of did an in-air 180, and then dushed him. It was awesome. And then I loved it. Once they won and they received their belts, they ran over to commentary. Montez essentially gave a lap dance to Kevin Owens, and they're like, I love to listen back to it. They're like, man, how'd you do that in the air? He's like, I don't know, I just did it.
Yeah. And then he's like, you ain't never seen it coming. But, which was really cool. And then a little spoiler, KO goes, I just want to let you guys know that, after much demand, the KO show will be back on Raw tomorrow night, and I'm calling Aleister Black out as my guest. So, on Raw, we will hopefully, if Aleister answers the call, be seeing him on the KO show.
Well, yeah, so we'll come back tomorrow to hear our thoughts on Raw. Be exciting. So this kind of, in terms of, you'll never see it coming, well, 3 for 3, I saw them coming. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, everything's by the numbers right now. If Fred Solo Cups hang from the roof, it's likely that they were going to win, unless, Angel Garza, like a reign of Andrew Garza's, that's right. Angel Garza's, like, fucking pull-off pants started coming from the roof. Angel Garcia. Yeah, if his rip-off pants started falling from the roof, I'm like, well, they're probably going to win.
Yeah, exactly. These velvet pants.
That's all right.
One thing that had us up in arms, which I kind of didn't see coming, was the conclusion of the next match.
Yeah, so on SmackDown, they had altered the stipulation to the Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. What previously was a hair versus hair match then shifted to a no disqualification where the loser will leave the WWE.
Yeah, so Mandy Rose coming out with the slick back hair, looking real vicious.
Looking like old school Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Someone pointed that out to me and I fucking died.
Yeah, But I loved it though. Like she looked vicious. She looked the part. She was ready to fight. She was ready to send Sonya packing. You could tell.
Same goes for Sonya though. Sonya was pumped as shit.
Oh yeah, Sonya was like tied her hair back, ready for the match and everything. But this was a lot more vicious than I thought it would be. Obviously, we don't see. To me, Mandy's not that much of a hard-hitting superstar, whereas Sonya is. But like, Mandy was like copping Sonya blow for blow, and she dominated that match for the most part. You know, it was a shorter match, but it was ridiculous how hard hitting it was, and how like out of nowhere after a flurry of just flying knees to Sonya's head, Mandy Rose got the win.
Yeah. So
now I was so torn because I thought this could go any way. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, obviously, to not have Sonya Deville around.
yeah, no. So it was pretty fascinating, like because with it being a no DQ match, I'm like, when was the last time we saw Mandy take a chair? And sadly, I don't think we did. I don't remember, did we? No, we didn't. They didn't get any weapons involved, I believe.
Yeah, no, they sure did. So, like,
Sonya
was beating the shit out of Mandy with a chair. Yep.
Oh yeah.
There was a
Sorry, look, I'll admit I watched this at work, so like I kind of phased in and out. I phased in and out here and there.
Into the announce desk, like Mandy was like, you know, every time Sonya hit Mandy with a knee, Mandy was right back with a couple of her own, and yeah, she ended up getting that win, and Otis ran out at the end of it and came and
that was
celebrated
nice
with his peach. It was cute. Getting her to do the worm was hilarious.
my favorite thing about that whole fucking match was this tweet that I saw from our good friend Josh Robinson. He goes, "Look, I was already gay, but seeing Mandy Rose try to do the worm, if anything, just solidified it." Apparently, it just made him even more gay. He just is like, "Nah, I got no appeal here. Nothing."
Yeah, she tried. Points for trying. It's very cute.
I can't do it, so I can't complain. I just shout out to Josh for making me like spit my drink out, laugh when I saw that too.
But like, if we can lift the
lift a little kayfabe that because you know we stick within the kayfabe here because it's fun. So it looks as if the reason being that they changed the stipulation was that under the current situation that Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville found themselves in, with Sonya Deville's having a home invasion, it was advised by the authorities for her to not alter her appearance too drastically ahead of potential court cases, etc. So therefore, the decision had to be changed to remove the stipulation.
Yeah. Not just that, I think right now with everything going on with the court proceedings and stuff like that, with Sonya Deville almost being kidnapped in her own home, which, you know, there is footage of going around of the security camera and what happened, I think it's probably safest for Sonya to step away for a little bit, you know, sort of reset, get herself out of the public eye, and then come back stronger than ever at a later date. Obviously, it's horrifying what Sonya's been doing. I only wish her the absolute best.
Oh yeah, there's that too as well. Because obviously, with everything that's coming up, it is best that she has that freedom to go doing whatever she needs to do, and would take that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's going to obviously she's going to need to move, like have an emergency move because her home's been compromised.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this guy went in wanting to kidnap her and had been planning it for months. So
gross,
scary stuff. But yeah. All the best to Sonya Deville, and I'm sure she will be back eventually.
I think so too.
More powerful than ever.
I'm gonna let you run this one, Jem, because I know that you would be the most excited for this one.
Yeah, so this had me hyped. So it was 15 years, I believe, where it had been since the custody battle between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Dominic Mysterio made his debut as a WWE superstar against Seth Rollins. Now, one thing I did love is sneaky Seth Rollins, as he does, he came out in an outfit that was a replica of what Rey Mysterio wore in it was the Halloween Havoc match against Eddie Guerrero. So this purple and black getup. Obviously, Seth come out in that, clearly very taunting.
Saying that though, what Dominic was wearing was very Seth Rollins.
Yeah, it was the vest and stuff like that, but he had the lucha mask on it. Yeah, it definitely playing mind games with one another. Obviously, we see before the match there's a little backstage bit with Dominic, his mother Angie, and Rey Mysterio, where Dominic's like, I know you want to help Dad, but I need you to stay out of it. You have to let me do this, yeah? And it's like, you have my word. And for anybody who's watching, we all know where Dominic gets his height from now, because his mum is tall as shit.
Yeah, she hot. Well, yeah, because when he walks out and it looks like Dominic's walking with a kindergartner. It was crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, so obviously Dominic's. I'm pretty sure it sounds like POD have done Dominic's entrance music as well,
or at least they've sampled the part from
Rey Mysterio's.
But unnecessary roll of the R's in there. Well done.
But yeah, beautiful. It was a sick theme. Watching him come out with his dad was just, there was a little tear in my eye. I was a bit emotional. I was like, it's finally happening. And yeah, they get into the match. Seth is obviously dominating because Dominic's new to this. He's not, he's obviously got some nerves and stuff like that coming into it for his first time. And Seth just preys on that. And he's taunting Rey Mysterio the entire time. Rey keeps trying to get in. Dominic keeps shooing him away, like, get down, stop it, go away. And then you sort of see a point where Dominic, like, it's almost like he shakes his nerves and he just starts flying. Like, he's arm dragging Seth and throwing him halfway across the ring, and he's, like, flying off the ropes and jumping around. He does, like, a kick up, and then, like, he's just... For someone so big, like a taller dude, he is super friggin' agile. So you can definitely tell that he's taking that lucha style from his dad. And I was just a little bit like, oh. It was very, very sweet. But yeah, for the most part, I think, Seth got the first weapons in because it was a street fight where he had Murphy throw in kendo sticks for him, and he like ripped off Dominic's shirt and was like belting Dominic with them, and Seth had some nasty welts from some kendo hits as well. And then I think the coolest part was where Dominic's, I guess, kind of like sacrificed himself to take Seth with him. He was on the top rope, Seth was beating at him, he got like with a kendo stick, he got the kendo stick, wrapped it around Seth Rollins and himself, and threw them both through the table. It was really fucking cool. Like, it was just, he did like, Dominic also did like a mini 619 on the apron where he like swung his
619 on the lower rope between the apron and the bottom rope. But that's a nice touch.
He gets some real Dominic got some air too. He did a very Eddie Guerrero style frog splash, which he got some air on that as well. Like, he did some amazing shit. But Seth Rollins ends up getting handcuffs, and he goes to cuff Dominic to the ring ropes. And then Angie comes out, and Rey Mysterio is trying to send her back, like, please go, don't do this, like, come on.
I was really worried that, Seth Rollins is going to go up, and then he was going to, stomp Mama Mysterio. It's
but yeah, obviously, while this distraction is happening, Murphy capitalizes and gets himself in there, and then Rey Mysterio comes back to help, and then they overpower Rey and end up cuffing Rey. And then Seth does start to go for Angie, and that's when Dominic attacks again. Unfortunately, Dominic did take the loss, which I was bummed about. He copped a stomp and then took the big L. Thankfully, Murphy and Seth gave him the keys to unlock his father. But yeah, it was, I don't know, I was disappointed, but at the same time, it's kind of it's his first match. It's to be expected that he's going to take the loss. But it was a strong way to come in. And there is a lot of promise for this guy, and I am really, really hopeful that they do something amazing with Dominic.
Well, that's the thing. So they mention it on commentary as well. So Seth Rollins is not fucking around. Ex-Money in the Bank winner, multiple-time United States champion, multiple-time Intercontinental champion, multiple-time Universal champion, multiple-time WWE champion. He has held everything. and to think that the Dominic was going to get the win straight up would be interesting. Would be interesting.
And, somebody unseasoned as well.
Yeah.
He put up a hell of a fight. He sure did, and he really sort of came into his own throughout the match. But yeah, Seth obviously did win this one.
Not too bad.
A beautiful moment. There's a beautiful moment at the end of it where Ray was like, basically, I don't care if you win or lose. I'm so proud of you. Like, that was an amazing debut. And they had a bit of a cuddle in the ring. And I was all like, I remember when he was like this big.
Yeah, see, that's why I thought you would take the lead on this one, because I was like, you've got such emotional history to this whole build up. It's pretty awesome. So what do you think? So what do you think the future holds for Dominic now? Do you think we'll see him head over to NXT for a little while? Do you think we'll see him join Raw, because that's where Ray is currently housed?
Yeah, look, I think because he's come straight into that match with Seth, I think that he's gonna start on the main roster. And yeah, I feel like he's gonna sort of work his way through the mid card. I honestly see him sooner than later with a mid-card title.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's bold. So that'd be the United States Championship. You think he would go and...
United States, yeah.
Interesting. Because like one of the other things that we learnt during the pay-per-view was that fucking Keith Lee, bask in his glory, the Limitless Lee is making his way to Raw. So he did lose the NXT Championship to Killer Cross to Cross over the weekend, which in a ripper match. It was fucking awesome. So yeah, the second he lost that belt, I was like, damn, like Cross is gnarly. Oh, Keith, Craig's in the chat. Fuck Keith. Yeah, fuck Keith. So like that's awesome. So expecting for someone else coming over to Raw, might I add, like that's getting to me all excited.
Yeah.
Give me some fucking Keith.
Yeah, very excited. So yeah, that brought us into our second women's championship match of the night, which was Asuka versus Sasha Banks.
Yeah, man.
So, like I discussed earlier, this match went completely the opposite in every way. So this was a more sort of ground heavy, more grappling. Obviously, like Asuka has her submission, Banks has her submission.
Yeah, so the Asuka lock versus the Bank statement.
Yeah, there was a lot of groundwork, a lot of submission work, a lot of countering submissions. It was real, like I said, it was the total opposite of what we'd seen with Asuka versus Bayley.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I knew that if Asuka was going to win any belt, it would be this one, and that's exactly what happened. Because much like Sasha Banks sacrificed herself for Bayley, Bayley was kind of in the same position, but instead of taking that hit to help Sasha, Bayley ducked out, which meant that Sasha was left vulnerable and Asuka was able to capitalize on that. And I'm pretty sure she gets in this real vicious Asuka lock, which Banks just can't get out of, and she ends up tapping.
Ooh, yeah.
So again, we discussed cracks in the friendship and how they're going to come about, and you predicted this one.
I did.
Yeah, it's exactly how it's playing out. Because next week we've got Payback, and they've got to defend their tag team titles, and it's like, well, clearly, like Bayley isn't willing to do as much for Sasha as Sasha is for Bayley, so how is this going to balance for them, Is it going to be a situation like us on TCW where, like, Sasha just turns around and she doesn't know what's going on?
It starts hanging out with Peyton Royce, man? Like, it could go either way.
Yeah, exactly it.
But, so for me, this is perfect. Because it wasn't just a pin, it was a tap out, which is pretty fucking definitive. No sneaky roll-ups, nothing. It was just bam. So... Exactly. If anything, this is solidifying my point from earlier, where I believe that Bayley is the stronger of the two now, and this is 100% that, and it also goes with the history of Sasha Banks losing at pay-per-views, so that's nice. So I like.
Yeah, but no, it was really good because they were really, really countering each other's grapples. Like that they were really going ham on it, and you could tell Asuka was out for blood afterward.
Well, yeah, especially after Asuka took that gnarly powerbomb on the outside. Yeah.
Oh man, if she's not concussed, I'm gonna be.
Turns out she wasn't. According to Twitter, she said her head is fine. It was very well supported by her neck. I'm like, that's confronting.
She's great. I love her to death. I saw photos of her posing like she had like a noodle cup over her, like the noodle cup,
right. Cup noodles.
Posing with a belt. Oh, it's great. I love Asuka so much.
So
I'm so glad she's got a belt on her because this means that she's going to be facing Shayna Baszler.
Yes.
And I am all for that. This is what I want.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see it at Payback. I think we might see it a little bit later, probably at Clash of Champions.
Definitely. I feel like it's going to be Nia Jax first and then on to...
Yeah, don't say that.
I know, but Asuka's going to hold on to it somehow, so she has to get through somebody to get to base.
That's a good point. We'll guess we'll find out. On Raw.
One thing I did love, I watched it earlier today. I was obviously on Raw Talk. A while ago, Shayna Baszler and R-Truth had a little debate about the fish in catering, and R-Truth was like, "Oh, the fish is good. You just didn't put enough tartar sauce on it." So, like, this week on Raw Talk, Shayna Baszler came in with, like, avocado mayo and some
avocado mayo,
sauce. Yeah, and some special hot sauce. She's like, "You have to try it, R-Truth. You have to try it. Like, come on, this is going to solve all of this." And she's like, if it was the way I prepared it, it'd be really good, but it's catering fish, so just deal with it. And R-Truth is like, "I don't know." And she's like, this is supposed to be like, it was just so dumb, but so funny that they're, like, carrying on this debate about fucking catering fish.
Hey,
but
makes it interesting.
The first time you could see Shayna Baszler was trying not to laugh at R-Truth. This time she didn't care. She was just having fun with it, which was fun to see.
Yeah.
There's only so much of a badass Shayna Baszler can be, and, like, seeing this personality come out, I love it.
To add to the discussion around Raw Talk, they re-announced the return of Talking Smack this week as well, which is a little bit bittersweet, knowing that this pay-per-view was the last one for Renee Young. She has since resigned and will be off to do God knows what. So it's a bit of a bummer.
It is a total bummer. Especially because, the one thing that was keeping her there was Talking Smack.
Well, originally, so Talking Smack was her baby. She's gone on the record saying many, many times that Talking Smack was the thing that she loved doing the most. Then that got removed, that got cancelled for a little while, and then she started doing the show for Fox, which I completely forgot what it was called.
The
one with CM Punk.
Yeah, I remember. Which didn't end up going anywhere.
God, what the fuck was it called?
Shows.
Showdown? No. No.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's gone. It's gone completely. Whatever that Fox show was.
Yeah. It didn't last long.
No. Either way, yeah. So that got canned as well, and mostly did get canned due to sort of the current circumstances, inability to have a studio or a studio audience kind of put a bummer on that show. But even then, I'm pretty sure the ratings weren't all that good to add to it. So that's a bit of a bummer. Anyway, WWE Championship match: Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Now, once again, so you have a lot invested in this pay-per-view, Jem, because you're a big, with you being the big Randy fan that you are, I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, so this match, obviously,
Randy Orton. Backstage. Thank you, Mad Dog.
What was it called? Sorry.
Backstage.
Oh, that's it. Backstage. Yeah. So yeah, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre. Typical Randy tactics, he's very slow to get started in a match. So whenever somebody goes for him, he ducks out. So typical Randy style to start the match. You can see Drew McIntyre immediately gets pissed with it and sort of gets his hand on Randy after a little, chase around the ring. Drew McIntyre's doing, the run and jump over Randy, and Randy trips him, and it sort of, trips Drew McIntyre up. And he's like, holy shit. You can see, the holy shit, what the fuck on his face is the best way to describe it. And he slides out of the ring, and you can see him sitting there for a minute, and he's contemplating, and he's looking around okay, I'm gonna have to change my tactics because he's being sneaky, And then all of a sudden this sort of grin comes across Drew McIntyre's face. And then he gets back in the ring and just like dominates the match. So with this, it was interesting because it was one of the slower matches. Out of all the matches of the night, I'd probably call it the toilet break match because it is designed to be that little bit slower. Obviously, being bigger dudes, they need a little bit more time to gather themselves to do what they do, you know? And Randy's been at it so long, he just likes to take his time. Like, you know, that's how he does his thing. That's how he plays his games. Mm-hmm. That's why they call him the Viper, you know? He just sort of moves slow and then strikes real fast. So you see him heaps of times go for the RKO, which is no success. And then, Randy goes to do a punt. Drew McIntyre catches him, tries for a Claymore, which Randy Orton ducks straight out under. And then Drew McIntyre, he just caught him in a backslide pin. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and there was no Claymore success, so not a single landed Claymore.
No Claymore.
Gives him a fucking Glasgow kiss, something fierce. But yeah.
Oh yeah, and he also got him in the figure 4 leg lock.
Yep.
Tapping into some Ric Flair there, got a real vicious figure 4 on him. But yeah, just that sneaky backslide got Drew McIntyre the win, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah, so we were in an interesting discussion around that. How do we see this going? Because you and I were tossing up. I personally thought that Randy should have won or would have won. Mostly because I think him being that dominating heel is advantageous. I think that vigor, that energy that comes from killing a bunch of legends, for them to take an L here, I was like, oh, that seems a bit. All right, cool. But the whole idea is it makes Drew look amazing. You know, Drew killed the killer.
Yep. And one thing I love about it is, you don't see it coming. It really shows that Drew McIntyre is kind of, versatile in that respect, that he doesn't rely on the Claymore to get a win, that he can, cop a sneaky backslide to retain, which, Randy was visibly shocked about. He's like, how in the what? It shows some versatility to Drew McIntyre as well, and it shows that he's not, obviously, Randy is reliant on the RKO and that punt, where Drew McIntyre is like, I'm not relying on my finishing moves, I can get you anyway. So that was, that gave another, a real nice dimension to Drew, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, it was in the grand scheme of things, I guess it was kind of a lackluster ending, but at the same time, it was I didn't expect it, so I didn't mind it. It's it's that weird.
Yeah, so for me, I look at this in a couple of different ways. Yeah, it was the pin, sneaky pin. This isn't the end of it. There is going to be more.
Nah.
Yeah, I maybe not a payback in the coming days. It may not even be Clash. I do think it might be a slow burn. I think there might be something a little bit later. We'll wait and see on that one. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I like Drew. I like Randy. It was a good match comparatively.
Real hard hitters. There was a killer chop from Drew McIntyre to Randy.
Mad Dog also mentions, I thought the Future Shock DDT was a nice shout out to Drew's pass. Yeah, I did notice that. That was pretty sweet. Plus, I'm also a big sucker for a good DDT, so I'm always sold. And then I did not see coming. I didn't see this being the main event. I thought Drew versus Randy would have been. The main event for the night, Braun Strowman versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. The Fiend's entrance looks fantastic in the Thunderdome.
I will be in the arena when that entrance comes on one day.
Yeah, well, ideally, because the tickets that we have that should have been for the show 3 weeks ago is for Raw, and apparently that's what's returning next year. So we may be very lucky. Yeah. We may see The Fiend. However, I'm pretty sure that he didn't do house shows previously, but things may change.
Yeah. But yeah, it was I noticed even on the roof they had video graphics of the teeth from the mask and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Now I was under the impression this was just a standard match, yet
so was I.
Yet there were toolboxes and stairs and going through tables and everyone fuck-assing around.
Anywhere match.
Yeah, so later they sort of went, oh yeah, it's Falls Count Anywhere. There you go. So that explained all the additional usage there. They did spill backstage a little bit into like the gorilla area, where we saw, Braun take his sister Abigail, with the kick out, and they make the way, and they end up making their way back. Braun gets all bleedy at some point. I don't quite remember where it went down. But
and he's not the first person that bled, because Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, there's a little bit of bleeding of the night.
COVID, guys.
Hey, well, that's the match is a match. They'll take all the right precautions. But
so there's a bit of blood happening.
Yeah, so So Braun was going hard, understandably. He's not the monster among men anymore. He's just the monster. And I think we saw that take place. There's a lot of viciousness, a lot of hard enthusiasm in what he wanted. Yeah.
Nobody gets out of that.
I absolutely loved it. And then there even gets a point that he grabs a box cutter, and I'm like, what I was originally hoping. So he grabs a box cutter and he starts cutting up the ring mat. That's not where I thought he was going to go. What I was hoping, I don't know, part of me, just because I'm a big mark, was he cuts off the Fiend's mask and just reveals another fucking mask. That's what or they cut it off.
Like Sting, when Sting took off the Sting mask and Sting was on.
Either that, or it's one of those things he goes to cut it and it doesn't come off.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping, the mask.
Yeah. I was discussing, I think it was with either you and Craig or somebody, but I was discussing with somebody how the Fiend's mask actually looks like it's bolted to his head.
Yeah, because there's the little pivots for the straps. Rivets. So, so look, side note, I just literally bought the Fiend action figure on Gumtree, this afternoon.
Hell yeah.
So I'm excited. One of the elite figures.
But yeah, unfortunately, Braun Strowman does,
so he cuts up the ring, reveals some of the wood, and unlike AEW, where they just fucking throw people into it, they did have a bit of a deuce over the wood. Braun ends up taking his sister Abigail onto the hardwood. Two of them, in fact, as Jem says. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Bray Wyatt is once again the Universal Champion. Jem, before we get into what happens after this, how are you with this result?
I am okay with it. I am interested to see what's going to happen next. I think obviously with the whole Alexa and Braun thing, and obviously Braun's not going to stop at that. Braun's going to be he's going to want that title back. The way he is now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'll let you talk about this one because you know how I feel about it. Yeah, so
I'm reasonably happy with the result as well. It's okay, it's expected-ish. Braun held his own. He took a lot. He took a lot of finishes here.
Oh yeah.
In terms of even if you're taking the Albert looking mad.
3 or 4 Sister Abigail's total, a mandible claw at one point which he got out. He stood his own.
Yeah, and he did have the Fiend against the ropes a good couple of times as well, so it wasn't completely one-sided. But what was interesting is...
the stair shot to the Fiend. Holy shit.
Yeah.
The stairs. Oof.
So once the music kicks in and the belt is handed to the Fiend, he is then taken off his feet by some dude with a spear. Who spears Jem? Better, it's the big dog. Roman Reigns is back. He comes in, he starts wrecking the shit, punching the fuck out of the Fiend's face. I'll admit, I popped a little bit. I was like, oh, fuck, shit, Roman Reigns. All right, very nice. He is sporting a new shirt. He is sporting a new shirt that reads, wreck everyone and leave. I'm like, that's very retribution-y. Just saying. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he gets ringside and spears Braun also, and then gives him about seven chair shots. He then gets back into the ring, picks up that Universal title, holds it above his head.
I did notice he said to Braun,
I made you.
You're not a monster without me.
Well, he's kind of a good point. The only reason that Braun has the shot is because... So Braun had the shot at the title against Goldberg at Mania was because Roman wasn't there. So he's not wrong. Technically, and they've had a good feud way back as well, which is good fun. But, even then he comes in, he yells at the Fiend, because he had to vacate this title. He technically didn't lose it. So By him saying that it was his, you know. But
and it is
yeah.
announced that at Payback it will be Braun and Bray and Roman Reigns in the match.
Oh, this wasn't announced on the pay-per-view, but it was announced later.
Yeah, it was announced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I found out today.
Yeah, it's part of Raw, which makes sense. But yeah, so yeah.
Which I obviously saw coming with Roman Reigns coming back in the way he was. It was like he's immediately going to get thrown back into that picture. And one thing obviously everybody noticed is he's come back with a new set of teeth.
Yeah.
You know, big pearly whites. One thing that made me laugh is Randy Orton tweeted about it at first. He said something about welcoming back the big dog, which everybody was like, ooh, Randy's going for him next.
Different brands, bro.
I know. One thing that did make me laugh, though, is like Randy was like, he put out a tweet, I think today, that was like, or Instagram, it was just like straight from the horse's mouth, and it had a photo of Roman Reigns' new smile and a horse next to it, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah,
so it looks as if he's got sort of new, what are they called? Not dentures, what are they called? Veneers. And so I was couldn't work out why it looked weird. Not the fact that they were super white, they just looked weird. And I was listening to another podcast and they pointed out, whenever, like, veneers, they tend to give you, like, a slight overbite. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, there it is. That's what made it look weird.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got that very slight overbite.
Yeah.
We all know that I'm not the biggest fan of Roman Reigns. He bores me. I don't find him interesting at all. I think he's just muscle and that's it. He's got nothing else going for him. So, in my opinion, he can take his teeth and just fuck back off because I don't care.
Ooh. Well, we're on different sides there, Jem.
Yeah,
because I like it. I'm disappointed that he's being hot. Like he's essentially like making his way to the title pitch right now. I think they could have. I think they should wait a little bit. Like, granted, yes, he relinquished it. He didn't technically lose it. So, given that reasoning, now that he is back, he should be given a shot. To at least to earn it back. However, this quick, I'm very uncomfortable with. But his actions, his new line of merchandise, indicate to me that we are getting an edgier. We may even get a heel version of Roman Reigns, or at least a mildly heel version of Roman Reigns, and that I'm excited about.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about his shirt. The Wreck Everyone and Leave, and you're like, that sounds very Retribution. Do you think that he could be behind Retribution?
I have heard the rumblings. Old Dirt Sheet Dash did drop that in my ear the other week, and I was like, Yeah. He goes, what if Roman comes back with Retribution?
Yeah, because the way he attacks Braun, like, even though Braun's obviously come out different from his match with Bray Wyatt and the Swan, normal Roman Reigns wouldn't do that, because Braun's not the heel. He always goes for the bad guy, but the way he attacks Braun, I think maybe there's, and you mentioned his merch, and that's what triggered it for me. Maybe there's something going on in the background.
Well, yeah, taking out both of them, indicates, wrestling rules indicate that he's likely a bit of a badass now, a bit of a heel, and I think that whether they commit to that and whether they whether they commit to that, whether they go down that line and they finally give Roman a heel run, would be interesting. I think that would be a great way to sort of refresh him. I think similar to when he was away.
That's what they did with John Cena.
Yeah.
And that's why John Cena is the biggest superstar in the WWE ever, is because he was able to do both. He was both equally hated and loved, and I think Roman Reigns is in that same position, so he can cross that line.
But I do think having him it could be a situation of swinging to that side and using that hate against him, using the hate with him, be like, well, I know I'm going to get booed anyway, so might as well fucking run with it, right? And I think that, because he will have heat, whether that's go away heat, genuine heat, whatever, heat's heat, so I think that will work to his advantage. If he is involved with Retribution, that's going to be a bit shit, because Retribution are kind of, but so, maybe now that they have their ringleader confirmed, I'm making the presumption here, if there is that connector, that maybe we can start see some actual momentum, some actual change, come from Retribution, or at least start seeing who's behind the mask, maybe see some more understanding. And I think potentially, like, the only way I can see the difficulty is, like, Retribution is, getting action for being mishandled or mistreated. Yeah. I don't think that Roman is in a place to need retribution. He doesn't, he hasn't been mishandled. He hasn't been done any of that. And that would be fascinating, right?
Yeah.
However,
there seems to be a struggle out the back for a locker room leader as well. And we obviously know Roman Reigns is primarily the locker room leader.
Yeah, as the face he was.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see where that goes as well. Like, is maybe Baron Corbin behind it, or maybe somebody we're not suspecting, like maybe Big E.
Look,
there's so many ways.
All those things would be cool. I think Roman would have the star power to sort of drift between the two shows. Yeah, look, I'm open to it. In the chat, Mad Dog says, part of me thought that after the attack by Roman, we would hear Heavy Machinery's theme play and Otis comes in and takes the title. That'd be dope. And then
that was bad.
Game That Tune in the chat goes, oh yeah, I keep forgetting that Otis has the briefcase. And I did too. I totally have. And then he came out with it the other day. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's a situation of, like, what are they planning to do with it? Like, I presume they were planning to, like, have him cash that in with a crowd because, Otis is over and get the win and everyone would blow their fucking minds, right? Yeah. Will they? I guess they might do that now in part of the Thunderdome.
I have a question about that, though, because I believe Otis is allowed to go for any title, right? Yeah,
so we've speculated in the past around it being, so you and I, Jem, we speculated about, like, mid-card title, main-card tag team title.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, can he do a tag team thing? Because if I see Otis with any title, I want to see him and Tucky taking him from
Shinsuke and Cesaro, you know what I mean?
Cesaro, yeah.
And I think Buddy, Buddy in the chat adds, they seriously got, like, he puts in a question, they seriously going to put the world title on, fuck off Siri, they're seriously going to put the world title on Otis? No, I don't think they would. I don't think that's a good decision. No. But,
I don't think I've ever seen anybody cash in for tag team titles, so I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to go about it, and it's especially if, like, we want something new. And if you look at if you look at both the WWE title picture and the Universal picture, I don't see Otis fitting in there. I don't see him slipping in there. They're tied up. So why not? And, like, US title wouldn't be worth it, and he's a tag team competitor, so it would be. I would see that more in line. I think that would be a better choice.
I'd love to
so Game That Tune adds, in terms of responding to Buddy, he goes, no, but I would fully support it. And I would agree. I'd probably fully support it. Like, I'd be like, that's a bad choice, but fuck yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see.
Buddy also adds, would it be cool to get him to go for another belt? Really changes their rules and execution variant on the Money in the Bank case. Yeah, so pretty much what we've just been saying there. And he does agree with you. So we've discussed that in the past, actually, about him going for the tag team titles. I think that is a good call. I think that fits him as a character. I think that fits with, obviously, him and Tucky sort of connecting. And with Jeff Hardy being the Intercontinental Champion right now, I don't see them using it on a mid-card title. I've got my fingers crossed for a tag team, personally. And seeing as, like, SmackDown has the Lucha House Party, Shinsuke and Cesaro, Heavy Mech, and no one else, apparently, it seems like a good idea to at least have them two go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, especially with the cracks forming in Lucha House Party. There's a video of the tag team around.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it will just be Shinsuke and Cesaro. It's fucking weird. But anyways, that does bring us to the end of the pay-per-view, Jem. Using our not-so-patented Kurt Angle thumb system, how do you rate this bad boy?
Honestly, it was a really fucking solid, pay-per-view. Even though some things were questionable, I don't think it was faulty at all. And in the grand scheme of things, it's probably one of my more favourite pay-per-views so far, with consistency and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be super generous. I'm gonna give it 2 curds.
Yeah, look, I'm in a very similar boat actually. Like aside from in terms of the only issue that I have with it is you never see it coming. I'm like, well, I did. I saw most of it coming. Like when I say that in terms of like, there was no legitimate shock for me. Like even the big dog made his comeback. I was like, I'd heard speculations. I read speculations that might be happening. So that would be my only hurdle. Other than that, I really enjoyed the matches. I really enjoyed the show. You know, granted, I was watching at work, watching it with my clients, so I was feeding off their energy, and I'm sure that played a role. But I was really positive on it. I really enjoyed it. You know, I'm gonna be on the same boat as you, Jem. Fuck it, 2 Kurt Angles. We don't give them out. We don't give them out enough here anyway. No, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my time. Yeah, and on top of that, it was a tidy 3 hours. I cannot argue with a pay-per-view that is like fucking 5 minutes longer than an episode of Raw, but felt really fast, felt really good. Then that is a win for me.
Yeah, it was perfectly paced. It was just the consistency throughout the matches and stuff like that. It was really good competition. It was a solid. I feel like there's more morale being built with having the Thunderdome there and actually having like eyes physically on.
You would feel better. It would feel like what you were used to with the big arena, you know.
Exactly, and it'll feel less like you're in the performance. Like they're not in the performance center anymore, and you can tell that they know that. And they're driving towards that.
And even that, there's a lot of setup for future stories, which is what gets us all excited. So it was awesome. Let us know what you thought of SummerSlam in the comments below or the social medias, wherever. Reach out to us on the contact form. I didn't know we have. So it sounds amazing. But yeah, thank you for joining me as always, Jem. Thank you everyone for joining us in the chat, and thank you for listening at home. This has been our SummerSlam review. It came to you on a Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. For our regular show, that's our Raw and SmackDown review that comes at you at a Thursday. That's tomorrow at 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you want to join the wrestling conversation, you can. Check out our social media. That's Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Instagram. All those links are in the down below area. If you want to join the conversation as it happens, just like a good hunk people here, just like Buddy, like Game That Tune, like Mad Dog, like The Mugget, and more. Twitch, The Mugget, twitch.tv/thepopculturist. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this wrestling pod. If you listen to podcast service, be sure to give us a 5-star rating, a written review. That would be amazing. Or if you're on YouTube, be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, ring that bell. Support us financially at at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit without logos on it. Until tomorrow, when we talk Raw, I'm Ryan Betson. Oh, you're doing the wrong one, Jem. It's
get my Randaddy on.
There's no time for Randaddy. It's time for Keith. Keith! See you then!
Bye!
The Young and the Restless, the Pop Culturist WWE podcast, is fan support over at Patreon at patreon.com/thepopculturist. And we'd like to thank our Patreon producers and our Patreon founders for their kindness, their support, and their generosity. Our Patreon founders: Alpha Ferret, Craig O'Flaherty, David Chataway, Jesse Stevenson, and Jacob Garner. And our Patreon producers: AJ Abatomi, Damian Holdies, Kyle Dunn, Lee Wintershoven, Nathan Massetti, Paul James, Pure Mongrel, and Sean Levitt.